Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Castello Show. It is Matchweek 3, Episode 4. I am Brian, here with my co-host and father, John. We are super excited to be here with you. We're going to go through all of Week 2 first. We've got our notes now. I will say, the last 2 weeks we've been recording on Friday, so we've had all the info, and the problem with that is I am uploading on game day, and last week we didn't get it out in time, so we're recording on Monday today to be out on Tuesday. This is going to be the schedule the rest of the season, hopefully. It's going to give us more time to get it out so that you guys can actually watch it and use the show to make decisions. And then as we find out more information, we'll update Instagram and stuff like that with changes. That way you're still getting up-to-date stuff on Friday from us if anything comes out that day.
Yeah, you don't get any injury reports or anything like that until like Friday with the MLS.
Right.
It's not like the NFL. So recording on Monday, we don't have the luxury of having that sort of stuff. But we're still basing everything on previous games last week. And then there just has to be some adjustments because of lineup changes and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and as you guys know, even with Friday, you still don't have all the information as far as who's playing. No. So, still check your lineups, all that stuff. You know, don't take what we say as the word. Going into it, first game, I want to talk about Miami-Houston, and I bring this one up because of this. So, Miami, 6 goals in 2 games, high-powered offense, obviously that's all anyone talks about with them. But that Houston defense was pretty disgusting.
Yeah, I was going to say they look like a JV team. But I really think they need to be downgraded to a middle school team.
No, well, they're just, no understanding of, like that, the flick, that big high flick and the deep run from the midfield for the goal. I can't remember who scored it now, but that goal, he's with his man the whole way. Like, it's not like he was unmarked. He just couldn't get there.
Yeah,
like,
and the pass wasn't a surprise.
No.
Because it hung in the air like a NFL kickoff.
Yeah. Well, and I will say this. To Miami's credit, if you know you're the faster, more athletic team, set chances up like that. Get the ball up high. Force one-on-ones. All that. So, I don't want to discount the Miami win. You don't have Messi. You still get the job done. Love it. But I don't think this is everything people are saying it is against this specific Houston team. I think Houston's got a lot of problems. I think we're going to see them get blown out more. And by teams with a lot less on the sheet than Miami as well.
And I think it was the first goal, but it was another ball tried to be played out of the back, stolen, scored.
Yep. And we'll continue to see it. I'm telling you, every week, someone's going to do something stupid.
At least 2 last week, 2 that we definitely saw and were able to talk about. At least 1 this week. I mean, it's pretty sad. As far as fantasy-wise, I'm loving attacking players against Houston, though. Yeah. At least in the next few weeks. I mean, hopefully they hit the training ground and put stuff together. But it's not going to happen overnight. So I like attacking players.
I don't feel like this Houston team is completely useless. They have some pieces I really like.
I actually expect them to be good.
Yeah.
I played McGlynn this week. I thought he was going to be really good in this game. Miami's defense is not very good. They're an attacking team. Their defense is pretty weak. So I liked McGlynn. He had 4 fantasy points, which is not great. But he had 1 key pass.
Mm-hmm.
He had 1 foul against him. And other than passes, the whole rest of his stat line was zeros.
Yeah, it's rough. You can't have that.
No. So, disappointing, definitely.
Next up on the docket, we've got San Diego, St. Louis. San Diego losing Chucky Lozano in the 27th minute. Yeah. We do not know how bad that is yet. As we find out stuff, we'll keep you updated. I'm sure the injury report this week will say what's injured, but it's still not going to tell us how long.
No, it never does.
We'll keep checking stuff.
Fox Sports is actually a good resource.
Yes.
I found that to be the best resource for MLS injuries.
Now, still held the 0-0 draw. To be honest, San Diego should be thrilled here, getting out without Chucky so early. I mean, that's 63 minutes without your star player. St. Louis, we got to score a goal now. Come on, we gotta.
Well, and San Diego 4 points in their first 2 games.
Yeah, that's
a nice way to start.
And this is a big point to me. Even though I don't think St. Louis is some great team, it's honestly a game you want to win. Even as a new team, St. Louis is a team you want to beat.
Yeah, your home opener.
Right, but I think you lose Chucky, and now it's a can we keep our heads test more than it is a can we get 3 points game. Now it's about don't implode, keep your line, stay disciplined, and they did that. I thought they looked very good.
Do you know what would help them going forward? Kevin De Bruyne.
Yes. So, I will say this. A few years ago, I'd said De Bruyne to the MLS, and it was just, he was still too good at the time, and it just didn't make sense. I think everything is so bad at City now that De Bruyne would be looking to leave.
It's bad at City for City.
Yes.
By their standards.
That's true. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know that a guy like Kevin De Bruyne needs to go to the MLS. Now, with that said, neither does Messi, neither does Beck. There's a lot of guys that don't need to go to the MLS and do.
It's a nice country to live in when you got a lot of money.
Yes. If De Bruyne comes, I think it will just be followed by more and more. I mean, if De Bruyne comes, the floodgates have opened. Because you already had Messi, Suarez, all them, but they're all on the same team at the time, right? Well, not at the time, but they started all at Barcelona. It's the same group that got brought over. So, even though it's all these studs, they're kind of connected. It's not quite the same as signing for...
Yeah, I mean, they're buddies.
Right.
Messi and Suarez's wives are like best friends, aren't they?
Yeah. So, when you have that, I'm a little less, the MLS is attracting world-class talent. Because what it really attracted was a five-a-side team of the best of all time that wanted to play together. If you get to Bruyne too,
hey, if we go over there, we are going to kick the shit out of everybody.
Right.
Let's go do this.
And
this will be fun.
What was great about it is that's not what happened. They got knocked out of
They got knocked out in the playoffs, but they tied for the most points all time.
Well, yes. I mean, they went crazy during the regular season. But they still didn't win the title.
Right.
And I think that right there sent a message to a lot of teams around the world, hey, you can't just walk into the MLS and win it because
and
you're
it's hard to win, even as the best team in a playoff scenario.
For sure. But I think De Bruyne to the MLS, I mean, obviously it's a good thing. De Bruyne coming to your league is good. I like De Bruyne a lot. I think he's a player that, I was a midfielder growing up, and I watched him and studied him. I think if you play soccer and you're a young kid at home, you should definitely be watching De Bruyne's tapes. Yeah. It would be a big deal to have him in the U.S. I hope he doesn't go to San Diego. I would like to see him in Charlotte, but I don't think that's possible.
No.
So
where would you rather live?
Yeah. No, and
coming from Europe, you get to live in San Diego or Charlotte.
Well, and honestly,
70 and sunny every day.
Yeah. And if I was him, man, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm surprised that, not that Dallas and Austin aren't bringing in talent, but I would think any of these states where you don't have to pay income tax.
Well, I was thinking about that because he's going to literally lose half his salary to state income tax.
Then maybe it is worth going to Charlotte to pay less, but you can find
it's less than California, but it's not.
Well,
Texas
and you can
or
find
Florida,
even lower in Florida. I mean, he could go to Orlando and absolutely shake up the rivalry with Miami if he want. There's all kinds of options.
Go to Disney World every day.
Kevin doesn't strike me as a Disney guy, I think it might be too much sun for Kevin De Bruyne.
I think Florida would be a lot of sun for him.
Yeah, he should play in Maine. They should start a club for him.
Minnesota United.
But yeah, that was San Diego, St. Louis. Next one up, Philly, Cincinnati.
Route.
Yeah. Baribo, goal, hot start. Tied for the record, I believe, for most goals in the first two games.
Yeah, with 3 other guys.
He looked great. Evander did score, so he is on the score sheet now.
Yep.
4-1 final. I don't really have a ton to say about this game, honestly. I'm shocked at Cincinnati.
Yes, but no Orejano, no Miazga.
Yeah, they're not whole yet.
No, they're not. And I think Miazga will make a big difference when he comes back. I mean, defensively, they were not good. And that wasn't like the Houston-Miami game. Philly strung together stuff. It was different. Cincinnati didn't look lost.
Yeah, they got beat.
Yeah, they weren't just chasing in the back, and it was different. It wasn't, and you add Miazga to that, and Orjano, even though he's kind of a defender, he's not really a defender.
Yeah,
but still, they'll probably have the ball more on the other half of the field.
Right.
So I think those two guys will make a big difference. It's Cincinnati with Evander now, with Denke. I think they'll be fine. I think this was a one-off.
Yeah, I agree. I will also say this. I think Philly is really, really dangerous.
Yeah. And they should have been good last year. And you couldn't figure out why they weren't, No,
well, and they figured it out, and they said it on the Apple TV review, but I mean, if you watched the game, you saw it. The number of times they played that drive down to the post, right across the back post, and it's just a tap-in. I mean, they move the ball so well. It doesn't take any one player with them.
Yeah, and, Jim Curtin out, and it was like, what are we going to do? And I like him. I mean, I think he's one of the best MLS coaches of all time. He really is. But sometimes you just need a different voice, and Bradley Carnell has been really good.
Yeah, no, I think they look great. I think they're really well organized too. It's the type of wins that come from being a team,
Yeah, but they do have standout stars. I mean, Ura hasn't done much yet, but he's great. Baribo, and this isn't an anomaly for him. He had like a 7-game stretch last season where he had more goals than anybody else in the league. Gazdag, Wagner. I mean, it is a team of studs.
And I would point out Philly, definitely a team to look out this week on matchups. We'll talk about that more later. Next up, San Jose, Kansas City. Goals from Chicho and Yosef.
Yep, first goal of the game. Chicho's first goal is a Quake.
Yep.
Second goal of the game, Martinez's first goal is a Quake.
Yeah. So
the third goal.
I thought it ended... Oh, no, it didn't end 2-1. Who did score?
No, it was 2-1. But the other team.
Oh, I don't have the goal score written down.
Jovelic's first goal as a member of SKC on a PK.
Didn't have it written down.
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
All the goals were the guys' first goals with their new club, which was pretty cool. Yeah. What are you going to say about Martinez?
So, red card.
I thought you were talking about goal number 117.
Oh, no, I was going to talk about the red card. Up 2-1, Hernan Lopez, and... It was a moment where the tide could turn.
52nd minute, plenty of game left.
I thought it was really big that San Jose held on, and that's...
I did too.
That's what you need to see from them going forward now if they want to compete, and I think they did it. Being able to... In the same way San Diego stuck around after...
Bruce Arena effect.
Yes, and I have... been outspoken about not liking Bruce Arena, and I think a lot of that has to do with his face more than his actual coaching.
Face it's not a good face.
It really bothers me to look at him, but
he looks like a caricature of himself.
Hey, it's working. As long as they're winning, I guess I don't care. So
something about him looks a little bit like Chris Christie.
He's a little Chris Christie-ish. He's a little feminine, and I don't know.
He is. It's in his voice.
Yeah, for sure, and his mannerisms. He strikes me as like a lord from a long time ago. I could see Bruce Arena drinking tea and being like, "Get rid of him," and then just like waving.
He's like something out of like Monty Python.
Yeah, for sure. But the man's winning games. San Jose 2-1 final.
And as one of the worst teams in the league last year.
Yeah.
So
no, immediate turnaround. And honestly, they made a lot of roster changes. It should have been an immediate turnaround.
Yeah.
This was not the same team on paper.
It's not just coaching. But the Martinez goal was 117 for him in the MLS.
Yep.
Ties him with Bradley Wright Phillips for 6th all time.
That is true.
Yeah.
I will be honest with you about the records and everything. Because, obviously we all like to see records broken and everything. I really don't ever want anyone to beat Wondolowski and Kamara. I like that Wondolowski and Kamara are 1 and 2.
Yeah, I don't know how many guys are going to play in the league that long that are of that caliber anyway. Do you know what I mean?
True. Yeah, well, Kamara only
What'll happen?
hit it because he came back
at
LAFC.
What will happen, though, guys that are good enough to potentially do that, go play somewhere else.
Yeah, that's true. Next up, Charlotte-Atlanta. It was actually the first game of the weekend, 2:30. First half was really boring. Couple of Atlanta attacks. Charlotte, not very dynamic. They were kind of just getting the ball up the wing, but they weren't doing a ton. 0-0 out of the half, and then it got good. Charlotte really started hammering. Pep Biel with the first goal. Zaha on the second goal, which it was a rebound. It was kind of an easy goal, but he's in the right spot, and he's on the score sheet.
And it was a volley. He didn't strike it well, but
right.
He did put it
it was
on target.
It wasn't impressive, but it was difficult.
No, neither of those goals were impressive.
No.
I mean, the first goal was a mistake not even a mistake by the defender. He slipped. Yeah. He slipped and fell and passed the ball to Biel in an offsides position, which he wasn't offsides because it came from the defender.
Right.
For an easy goal. So.
But 2-0. Really what I was more excited about was holding Atlanta to 0. I wanted to score on Atlanta, but Atlanta's not some crazy defense. Atlanta is a crazy offense.
Yeah, they are, and they... if they would have scored first, I think Atlanta would have won that game.
I agree, actually.
When they held them in the first half and they scored right in the second half, Atlanta didn't know what to do.
Yeah, no, they looked like they expected to win that game.
Oh, yeah, no, I think in their heads they went, how are we losing to this team?
Yeah, no, and Charlotte looked really good. I felt like they didn't give up a lot of opportunities, which that is very Dean Smith of them, and, we've talked about how much we kind of wish they were a little riskier. But I felt like they got the ball up on the wing. They didn't put themselves in a lot of pressure. Ajamong won a lot of one-on-ones. He's such a good target man, and now that you have Zaha to draw people off of him, Ajamong's not double covered every long ball like he was last season.
I think there's still a little bit of a false sense of security, though.
Yes.
I think they think they're better than they are.
I think we will see. I think the next few weeks for Charlotte are going to be defining. Can they keep this going? If they have a big letdown game coming up, then it's going to start creeping back into their heads, same old Charlotte. But if they can keep this going for a few more weeks...
I don't know that they have that thought of themselves like we do.
I think... So fans do, because fans here...
I don't think they use the term same old Charlotte.
But a lot of fans here are Panthers fans, and they feel that way about the Panthers. And they feel that way about the Hornets. So then they feel that way about Charlotte FC.
See, I think that Carolina fans are the opposite. They're so overly, wrongly optimistic.
Well,
and they think, okay, sports talk radio going into this NFL season.
Yes.
All of these fans that called in, this was a division you could take, and the Panthers were going to win the NFC South.
Right.
And I was like, you people are bananas.
Yeah.
There's no way. As a Jets fan my whole life, I know what a bad football team looks like. I mean, just silly. Silly to think they were going to win that division.
Yeah. I don't know. The point is, we'll find out more about Charlotte in the coming weeks. I think they look good right now. I don't really have any blaring concerns. What I need to see is them keep it up.
Yeah, and that was Zaha's first real game with the team. So
yeah, I mean,
there's definitely meshing. And
the man had a baby, landed in Charlotte, practiced twice, and then scored a goal against Atlanta in the home opener. It's been a crazy few days.
But the first half, you didn't even know he was on the field.
No. And I'm all right with that.
I think I'm overly... What's the word I'm looking for?
Critical?
That is exactly the word I'm looking for. I think I'm overly critical.
Yeah. No, and honestly, Zaha's been in Charlotte for literally 3 days.
Well,
when that game is played.
Well, yeah, but he was here before he went back to England for the
I know
baby.
That. But
you played preseason
go to
games
England,
and stuff.
You have a baby. You come back, you practice twice. I am okay with a quiet half. No, I'm not okay with quiet football.
I don't think it's because of that. I think it's...
Well, I think it's getting back.
First real
I don't
game.
know. Well, and I also think Atlanta really was worried about Zaha in the first half and tried to keep him quiet, too. I think that's part of it. Next game, Vancouver, LA. So, I don't have a ton to say. I mean, you start it, because I don't have a ton. But I don't
have anything to say about that.
I do want to
Except Ryan Gauld was non-existent.
I do want to give a shout-out to Brian White for the game winner. And I was
shocked. He was non-existent.
Yeah. No, it was not. Honestly, I didn't think either team
looked good at all.
No.
I don't even have them in my rundown because I watched that, and because that game was a standalone, I got to actually watch a lot of it, you know, and I turned it off.
Yeah. No, I didn't watch the whole game. I did tune back in. I saw Brian White's goal live. That was it. I
did not. I saw the highlights of that.
We are big Brian White fans by that. Here at the pod, so I do want to shout him out. LAFC, NYCFC, sorry. Hollingshead scoring the only goal, 1-0. That 2 weeks in a row for him on the score sheet? Did he score week 1? Or just the clean sheet week 1?
No, I think he did score.
So 2 goals in a row from Hollingshead.
Because didn't you take him instead of Long?
Yes. And then this week I took Long instead of Hollingshead, and Long didn't play, and I didn't check my lineup. But I would have put in Hollingshead.
Dope.
And had 1,000,000 points. I don't think it actually... I think I still would have lost. That's how bad I was this week, and we'll get into that. But I need more out of LAFC, dude. NYCFC... And I'll say this. We've been shitting on NYCFC here. They've given up 3 goals in 2 games.
Against what are supposed to be quality sides.
Miami and then LAFC.
Yeah. So I mean, 2 sides that are supposed to be some of the best attacking in the league.
So I don't know that NYCFC is as bad as we've been saying. However, LAFC at home, you came off a weak first match. You're back in LA now. You want Bouanga.
No, they were in LA the first one.
Oh, true.
These are 2 home games.
Good point.
That Bouanga did not score in either of them. And I don't think there were 2 home games all season that he didn't score.
Yeah. No, you got to get going now if you're LAFC.
I know there was at least 1 he didn't score in. I'm not positive there was a second or not. I'm almost positive that there wasn't a third. Like, if he was at home, he scored a goal. And on the road, he was a disaster. He almost never scored on the road.
Yeah.
But at home, he scored almost every game. And now they start 2 games in a row at home, and he has no goals. I was so confident in him. He was my captain, fantasy-wise. Bouanga's not gonna, again, not score a goal. 2 consecutive games, and that is exactly what happened.
Yeah, well, and we'll see. I don't know when he's gonna snap the streak. I am very confident he's still Denny Bouanga. I'm not saying Bouanga sucks or anything. But he's definitely in a cold snap right now, so I wouldn't be picking him for the next little bit. I would let the dust settle in LA.
I understand there's plenty of guys to choose from.
Yeah.
Even if he does well, there's other guys that are also going to. But defensively, I mean, 2 clean sheets in 2 games. I mean, that's pretty sweet for the LAFC defense and Lurie.
Next up, Columbus, New England. Not a ton to say on this. 1-0 Columbus. You really expect them to beat New England by more. New England wanted the handball. It was called and then denied. If you didn't see this, definitely go look it up. Comment what you thought about this. So I'll say this. Watching it in slow-mo, it looked like maybe not. I also felt like I didn't get a good enough angle to tell at all on that. Like, I really couldn't tell.
If I had to judge just from the replay and the slow-mo, and that alone, I would have said it's probably not a handball.
Yeah.
But I would have not overturned the call on the field with that because I didn't think it was 100% conclusive. Everyone at MLS 360 was completely 100% conclusive, and
yeah.
Well, this slow motion is pretty terrible.
I'll say this: the whole thing could have been so easily avoided by just keeping his arms. I mean,
and don't turn around
out this way. But even if you're going to
turned around and his arm went out, who does that? You're a professional.
Get jumping and turning, but you got to keep your arms in as you turn. And honestly, you shouldn't turn. You should turn your head. Your body should stay square.
Yep.
But they got away with it.
Because as you turn, you get narrow.
Yes. They got away with it. 1-0. You scrape by on this. I think Rossi had a bad game.
Very bad game.
They got through it. New England, they'll feel like they got screwed. Honestly, they didn't deserve to win that game, I didn't think.
No, they weren't very good.
Seattle, RSL. Own goal, obviously. And I don't know. It felt like some people were trying to blame the goalie. Some people were trying to blame...
I don't know that people were. I think just Nuhu was.
Nuhu definitely was.
He was yelling at somebody about something.
That goal was on both of them. Because clearly neither of them talked to each other. Or one of them said something and the other didn't listen.
That was bang off his head.
I don't know.
That definitely wasn't a pass to the goalie from his head.
No.
That had way too much velocity.
Well, and I don't know if Nuhu was saying, don't come out, I'll hit it to you, and then he came out and Nuhu didn't see him, or if it was like, goalie's coming and Nuhu didn't hear the call.
Terrible play by Nuhu.
The whole thing was bad. But either way, I think, and he might have, I don't know, I can't hear on the audio, but I think the keeper's got to call Nuhu off of that. Now, he may have, and Nuhu just didn't listen. That's totally possible. That has happened to me 100,000 times as a player. So I'm sure it happens at this level too. Nevertheless, 2-0 final. I didn't really feel like Seattle did anything great all game. I don't feel like RSL did anything that great either, but, I mean, they already had the momentum.
Another game that I didn't do a summary on.
Gotcha.
Boring game.
Moving on. Colorado-Dallas.
Not a boring game.
No. Colorado goal early.
Colorado's never a boring game, by the way.
No, we said it last season, we'll say it this season, and honestly, I feel the same way about Dallas now.
And Lucho and Musa.
Oh my god, those
What
two.
a tandem.
That 1-2 for the second Dallas goal was unbelievable.
With Lucho's little...
Yeah, the chip was great.
Finish.
The pass to Lucho, to me, is almost
fantastic.
Better. I don't know
if
I
waiting
like
on that pass was perfect.
Or the finish better.
It was just all of it.
Yeah. No, that's one of the best
That's what
goals.
soccer should look like.
It was awesome. And then Musa finishes the third. Almost, I mean, very, very short time. Rafa equalizes 3-3 final. It's a big game for Colorado because they scored a lot of goals. That's what Colorado needs. That's what they did last season. They got to get the ball in the back of the net.
But they went up 2-0.
Yes.
And then went down 3-2. So it was great that they came back at the end to tie it.
Well,
but they went up 2-0.
Like we always say, Colorado never stops playing. They scored.
No, they don't.
They got back in, but I do think they got to be a little tighter back there. And I feel the same way of Dallas. I don't feel like all of the goals in this game were unstoppable. I think
2 of those Dallas goals were.
The Musa 1-2.
The 1-2 was unstoppable.
Is crazy.
The other one, I mean, it popped up, and then Musa just hit it in off the side of his foot. But I mean, how were you going to stop that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that defensively, I need to see a little more from both sides. But I also, I mean, they were both going out to score goals. I mean, I don't think either team was thinking defense most of the game.
Yeah.
Chicago, DC, no Gutierrez. I did catch that one and adjust my lineup, luckily.
Because I texted you?
Yes, that is why. Benteke on the first goal, just wide open in the box. And then Kuipers back-to-back with the brace.
Yeah, and you said you liked him, and then...
Yeah, and I
feel like I even talked you out of him. I told you I didn't love him.
Well, you didn't like Chicago.
Oh, no, I didn't hate Chicago. I like anyone playing DC United. They don't defend.
Right. And see...
But when we talked about it, I thought it was going to be old Gutierrez, who then didn't play in the game.
Right. And that's when I should have switched to Kuipers. And honestly, I think we're going to see a lot of production from Kuipers this season. He came in halfway through last season, so we didn't fully get to know him, But he was a serious player in the Belgian league.
And Chicago can score. I mean, they're going to continue to score.
Yeah, and
another team that scores and doesn't have a great defense.
Yes.
I mean, that is the MLS.
Benteke, with a chance to tie it up at the dot.
Terrible.
Blows it over the bar. I mean, really terrible. And especially from Benteke.
It was Roberto Baggio-ish.
Yeah. No, well, and here's the thing. I know people really get on pros for missing penalties. But I also get you're a human, and even though a penalty kick seems easy, you still got to hit it. You can't miss a penalty by that much ever.
No, but if you're trying to finesse it or something, and you just get under it, it pops up.
Yeah, I mean it's a mistake. It's a lack of concentration. Whatever. I don't think we're going to see this again from Benteke all season.
But saved by his teammate.
Yes, Jacob Murrell, 90th minute plus 6.
96 minutes.
Bicycle. Nah, not really a bicycle.
Not a bike, but
sort of a falling leg out thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it.
Something we've seen before.
It was sweet, whatever it was. I don't know what you want to call it, but it was awesome. And honestly, if you're Jacob, you got to be pissed because that could have been a winner, and it ended up being a draw.
In the what do they call it? The rundown, the recap.
Mm-hmm. The recap.
They showed him doing that in college with Georgetown too.
Yeah, not the
which
first
was pretty
time.
Cool.
Orlando, Toronto. I did want to shout out Aruhu. Oh my god, I just had a stroke. That guy, that free kick, dude. Oh my god, that was crazy. That came in off the top, like the inside top left of the post. That was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, Orlando scores a lot and doesn't defend.
Yeah.
Which is different than the rest of the MLS.
Yeah. Ojeda also on the score sheet. 4-2 to finish. I mean, Toronto's really bad. Their backline's really bad. Their attack, honestly, I don't think is great. Just Orlando's backline's also really bad.
Yeah.
So they got 2 goals. And the last...
No, I like everybody against Toronto.
The second goal was with no time left, and I don't think Orlando is that worried anymore, so...
But that was a strike.
That was a strike.
That was worm burner that didn't get more than 6 inches off the ground and straight to the back of the net. That was a rocket. That was awesome.
That was a great shot. Didn't matter.
No, you have to cut out the score in the top of the screen in the highlights.
For sure. But good finish. Portland, Austin. Portland, I mean, just 100 saves to keep him alive. Austin, the whole game, looked the better team up until DaCosta on a free kick. And to be honest, didn't look like a shot, that free kick. I think that was a cross that no one touched, and it just happened to bend in.
I feel like that happens a good bit.
Yeah, well, and honestly, this is what I would say
and then guys run right to the corner.
Yeah, well, and this is something that I don't think comes up a lot. It's certainly not something that I ever heard as a high school player. This is something I heard more like playing pickup and stuff with adults who were out of kids soccer. But free kicks from a side angle like that one, where you're off to the side of the 18-yard box. You do not really have an angle to shoot. If you play an in-swinger, you should still be playing that in-swinger to land at the inside of the post. Because even if no one touches it, it'll still go in. And most of the time, especially at the youth rec challenge high school level, that cross misses everybody. You see it all the time where that free kick goes past everyone and no one gets contact. So it's honestly a great idea to get that free kick as a cross that's kind of on net, And it works at this level too. That was not a shot, and it still went in. I don't think that's a terrible thing to do, and he's rewarded for it.
Yeah, the only thing at this level at not putting it on frame is that if someone does come and head it in, it's much more difficult for the keeper to save.
Yeah, well, and I think you got to mix it up, right? Sometimes you go there, sometimes you have the guys running in, but then you play it behind them, and there's your second wave. I think you move it around. But other than that, pretty boring game. I mean, not a lot happened. A lot of great saves from Portland.
Yeah, I didn't do a recap on it.
We'll see what their keeper situation is going forward. Red Bulls, Nashville.
So many games.
Yeah, we're almost done. The Forsberg goal was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
That was the second goal. I really just wanted to
you want to talk about a great player that really comes up with nothing, way more than something.
Yeah.
But then his some things are highlight reels, but he really is terribly inconsistent.
Yeah. No, and
leaning towards the wrong way.
Yes. But when he shows up, he shows up. And that goal was...
Yeah, it was great.
Pretty sweet. Minnesota-Montreal, Yeboah goal, 1-0. There was some argument about should Yeboah
I do like that he wound up scoring that goal after the PK was...
denied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how that got overturned.
No, well...
that certainly wasn't a clear and obvious error. I don't think it was an error at all.
No, and
it certainly wouldn't be clear and obvious.
We're pretty let him play when it comes to penalties.
Yes, I 100% go the other way than they did there. Like, I am always like, that's not a foul.
Yeah.
Times when you're like, no, dude, that's a foul.
Yeah.
And I'm like, And that was a foul, man. Like, that was... And
no,
then
I thought it was pretty crazy.
For it to go to VAR and get overturned... So you're saying it was clear and obvious that it was not.
Yeah. Well,
it's absolutely
I'll
ludicrous.
say this. I don't think that was like the craziest pen ever. I mean, you could make an argument he almost touches the ball. You could also make an argument he's shoulder to shoulder. I think he's not. He is behind his shoulder.
Yes, he is behind
him. And he's kind of hip to hip.
Yeah.
But he is behind him. I don't know if he touches the ball. You can't really see it with Apple TV shitty slow-mo.
At worst, it's definitely not clear and obvious.
Right, I agree.
Period.
If I was on the field, I would have called it. All right. Well, that's last week's recap.
Before going into next week,
right?
There are 5 teams with a 2-0 record right now.
Oh yeah.
Okay, 2 weeks, and there's only 5 teams left that are 2-0.
Yeah.
Can you name them?
LAFC. Am I drunk?
It's a good thing we're not on radio.
Yeah. You just name them. Go ahead.
Columbus Crew.
Yes.
San Jose.
Yes.
Vancouver.
Yep.
And Ty Baribo and the Philadelphia Union.
Yeah.
So, all 2-0. Some of those are very much... I mean, Philly and San Jose were surprises for a lot of people.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Well, Columbus and LAFC, probably not so much. Vancouver...
Yeah. And actually, another stat that I would like to pull up while we're discussing that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams 0-2 right now. Montreal, Kansas City, LA Galaxy, and Houston with no wins. So, of those...
I think Montreal is not a surprise.
Yeah.
Who's the second one you said?
Kansas City.
Kansas City's not a surprise.
No. Galaxy are missing pieces. So
big pieces.
It's not a fair 0-2.
Right.
And then Houston, who we thought would be
I didn't expect them to be 0-2.
I didn't
expect them to be 2-0.
No. I don't know that any of these teams are in, like, super serious, oh my god, danger yet.
No, it's way too early. There's so many games to be played.
But definitely something to keep an eye on down there. Not that anyone gets relegated anyway, who gives a shit, but, you don't
hire a draft pick. You get rewarded.
If you can avoid it, you'd like to not be down there.
Yeah. No one likes losing.
Alright, so as far as that's actual games, do we want to go through fantasy for last week? We already talked about it a little bit.
Recap last week before we go to this week.
Running through it, so I had 41 points total. Not a good week.
We played each other in our head-to-head league. We both sucked, and I just sucked less.
Now, average competition score was 51, so no one's really doing that good yet. So if you can have big weeks right now...
But that's lower than... Because there's a lot of people that have a team but never put in a lineup.
That's true.
There's a lot of zeros average. But you think the real average probably is around upper 50s, lower 60s.
And I would say, if your team is in dire straits right now, it's not the end of the world. There's a lot of season-long things.
Oh, God, yeah.
Also, the Champions League qualifiers restart every 6 weeks.
Yep.
So
you got
even if you
four opportunities
absolutely shit the bed, you still could get in. So
you want price rises now.
Yes. Agreed. walking through my team. So Coronel at the back, 7. Back line, Aaron Long, like I said, started him. Didn't realize he wasn't playing, so no points there. Rodriguez and Ricketts were my other 2 defenders from San Jose. 2 points each there. Espinoza really not doing much. 2 points from him. I went heavy San Jose, and it hurt me. Even though they played well, I had all the guys that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Ojeda, 7 points, did his job. Gold, we already talked about how much we were upset with him. 3 points. Forsberg, he had 9. I did have him. Amina Bassi, 1 point. I will not be picking any Houston players for the next few weeks.
Certainly not Jack McGlynn.
Yeah, I need to learn what's going on there before I go back to them. Up top, Rossi and Bouanga. I mean, there were a bunch of play. We talked about Brian White. We talked about Kuipers. Benteke even was a player that I think we brought up last week, but just 2 wrong picks. It happens. Yeah. So, Bouanga with 2 points. Bouanga with 3 points. Captain, so he had 6. Rossi with 2. Our teams were pretty similar. There wasn't too much different.
Yeah. So I had Carnell in goal.
Mm-hmm.
Had him on the bench just in case, and then wound up doing the keeperoo and putting a scrub out there to get his 7 points. I had a scrub on my back line from the beginning to have an automatic switcheroo. I was scared of defense this week. My defense was by far the strongest part of my team. 7 from Coronel in goal.
Yep.
9 from Valencia on the bench, also Red Bull. 8 from Marlon Santos in the lineup from LAFC. 5 from Kai Wagner on the field. And then only 2 from Ricketts on the field.
Yeah.
Other than that, my highest score was a 7. And I had 1, 2, 3 midfielders and forwards with 2 points. 1, 2, 3 midfielders and forwards with 3 points, including my captain, Bouanga. And then McGlynn had 4, Ojeda had 7. Gold, Bouanga, Stroud had 3 each. I didn't use Stroud's because I only used one guy from the bench on the switcheroo, which was Valencia.
Mm-hmm.
Espinoza, Rossi, and Owusu had 2. Didn't use Owusu because he was on the bench.
Yep.
And then, like I said, McGlynn and Ojeda had 4 and 7. So, pretty terrible week. I had 55. Beat you head-to-head, but it was really bad. My overall rank was 2,094. No, Ooh. That is my current overall rank after 2 weeks. This week was 3,774.
Eek.
Yep. So really, really poor these first 2 weeks. I think in the 50s both weeks. So my weekly rank for Charlotte FC fans was 117. I'm 56 overall after 2 weeks. So
I don't know what really, I am, but it's worse than that.
So. It is worse than that, which is terrible.
Yeah.
So
next week, let's get into it. Just I'm going to list off all the matchups. We'll start there, and then we'll go through teams we like.
Hold on. One thing I do want to talk about last week. Did you do you have like what the lines were and who you bet and stuff, or no?
So
I know you just pull up the screen as you're doing it.
Yeah. So I didn't end up actually betting any of the games we talked about. I know. Where is last week's scores? So, I mean, Charlotte was one that we talked about that I wasn't going to bet, but I wanted to bet just because I wanted Charlotte to win. Columbus, we did say was safe money playing New England, and that did pay out. I don't remember what the line was, but we liked that. Another one we had talked about that I definitely... what I believed in, but we, didn't bet was Miami and Houston 4-1.
So for me, I told you these are the games I like, and then I like to pick fantasy players from them.
Yeah.
My fantasy players were awful.
Yeah.
But here's the games that I like and that I wanted to pick guys from. Columbus Crew, 1.
Yep.
New York Red Bulls, 1.
Yep.
Orlando City, 1. Chicago Fire, did they tie?
Yep, draw.
Tied. So I would have lost on that. San Jose Earthquakes.
By the way, the literal last second of the game.
Yeah. San Jose Earthquakes. Yep. 1. LAFC.
1.
Austin FC lost 1-0, I think, to Portland.
I believe so. Yes.
Vancouver Whitecaps won.
Yep.
And then Houston Dynamo lost.
Yep.
So if I just would have bet, that would have been a pretty good week. Because some of those teams that I took would have been getting, they would have not been favored.
Yeah.
Including probably that Houston Dynamo. I don't know this for sure. I remember Miami wasn't as favored as much as we thought on the road.
No, and I think they were actually still a positive number. But
I think Houston was as well.
Yeah, right now we still have a lot of games that have double positive, like all are positive payouts if you pick the results. So, and we'll talk about this week's lines and who we like.
I need to set up an account and start betting.
Yeah. So next week's matchups, top to bottom, and then we'll go from there. So 2:30 game on Saturday, we've got the Columbus Crew, Houston Dynamo. 4:45 at Lumen Field, we've got Seattle, LAFC, their first game on the road. Atlanta back at Mercedes-Benz, hosting the Red Bulls at 7:30. Also at 7:30, we've got Cincinnati hosting Toronto, DC hosting Kansas City, the Revolution hosting the Union, and then NYCFC, Orlando City FC. And I gotta say, New England, Philadelphia is one of the most patriotic games in all of the MLS. 8:30, Austin, Colorado, Dallas, Chicago, Nashville, Timbers. Then we move on to 9:30. RSL plays San Diego. 9:30 also has Vancouver, Montreal. And then 10:30, standalone game, the Quakes host Minnesota United. Sunday, Inter Miami at home, Charlotte FC. Then LA Galaxy hosting St. Louis, still looking for a win. Definitely some interesting matchups this week, some serious mismatches. Also some interesting games. I just glancing at this, John, what teams do you like? What are you thinking?
I like Columbus.
Yeah, me too.
The game is itself, I like Columbus. And then I like definitely attacking players for Columbus, and I might even like defensive players as well for them.
Yep.
I think I like Seattle over LAFC. Not as much as I like Columbus. Mm-hmm. If Orejano and Miazga are back, I'd love Cincinnati.
Agreed.
If they're not, I still think Cincinnati's going to score goals.
Yeah, I still like Evander a lot.
Yeah. I like attacking players for DC over Sporting. Mm-hmm. I like Musa and Lucho. I like Dallas over Chicago Fire. Yeah. And I think that game is going to be like 4-2.
Yeah, me too. I think
both teams are going to score. And I think Dallas is going to have a lot of goals.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I like the best.
I will also throw into that Orlando NYCFC. I think NYCFC at Yankee Stadium, they're going to be looking to put on a show.
So I looked at some of their players because I wanted to have an NYCFC player.
Yeah.
Because Orlando cannot play defense. And I don't like anyone, and I don't like them at their prices.
No, I agree with that. And I don't know that I like any individual player.
No.
I just like them as the team. Yeah. I don't think they're going to lose to Orlando.
No, I think they're going to win that game, actually.
As far as players go, so my team right now, I'm at like 103.6 million.
That was the one thing I had. I had good price rise, and I did pick players for price rises.
Yeah.
I also, actually, week one, I didn't like my team at all. And I never do week one because I don't know what the hell's going on yet.
Yeah.
I actually really liked this team week two, and I thought I was going to have price rises, and they were awful, but I still had price rises because of the way they're done.
Yep.
So guys that had an enormous first week, especially guys that were cheap, they were going to go up another $500,000 in week two, period, even with a bad week, like Ricketts. So the first week, I only went up $600,000. Week two, I went up another $4.5 million. So I'm at 105.1 now. Big. So that was a good price rise week for me.
As far as my team goes, so I like Columbus a lot right now. I've got Schulte in the net starting. Back line. So right now it is in a 4-4-2. I will be very honest with you. If I can make the budget works, I will switch to a 3-5-2 for this match. But for the time being, we have Ricketts, Farsi, Amundsen, and Smith from Portland. Him I don't know that well, but he's $5 million and he's averaging...
I have him too.
Do you really?
I do.
For you guys that don't know, because I didn't even know the name, 9 points last week against Austin. He wasn't in the game in the first week.
Right.
He only played 24 minutes that first week anyway, but had the clean sheet and some passing bonus points as well.
Yep. And he's playing Nashville.
I want to say it's 90-something passes. I don't know the exact number, but it was in the 90s. And I like him against Nashville.
Yeah.
So...
And he's going to get a price rise.
Yes.
For $5 million.
Also big.
So even if you don't like him, he's a guy you can put on your bench. I have Ricketts on my bench.
Right.
Specifically for the price rise.
Midfield, I've got Gauld again. They're playing Montreal. I just don't see him having 2 letdown games in a row.
I think it's a comeback game for him, too.
I've got Evander. Right now, he's captain playing Toronto. I'm looking for a big game from him. Gazdag, I think they're going to blow New England out of the water. I don't think that's really going to be a game. They look so good. And I think Gazdag's, he's midfielder. He's always going to be at the center of that. Acosta, I have him right now.
We have a lot of similar players.
Yeah, I'm not married to Acosta right now. I'm pretty confident in that. I think he's probably going to stay, but I may, just for budget purposes, look for someone cheaper because I also have Musa up top. I don't know that I need both of them necessarily, but when they start linking up for those 1-2s, now that's an 8-point goal for you instead of a 5-point goal. Stuff to keep in mind.
Plus probably a key pass in there.
Right.
So essentially
potentially
a quarter of a
bonuses. And then right now I have Benteke up top as well, playing Kansas City. I don't like Kansas City's defense. I'll be honest, I have fears about Benteke's consistency, which are completely unfounded because he won the Golden Boot last year, so I don't know what...
Yeah, because he had games where he had a hat trick, and then he had 2 games where he had no goals.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That's what happened when he had...
Yeah.
His games were here. He was Forsberg to the nth power.
Yeah. No, I agree. I have him in now, and I'm pretty confident he's going to stay there. He's $9.3 million. He is expensive. There is a chance that I look at someone like a Kuipers, who I think is going to be in a barn burner game that could get some kind of consolation, goal. But the final lineup, like I said at the beginning of the episode, will be on Instagram.
Yes, some of those guys might not even be in their team's lineup. They have to come out, and then all of a sudden you do have room for some of these guys you consider. But
that's where we're at right now. John, who you got?
So I got a 3-5-2, but I have a scrub in the midfield. Mm-hmm. So it's essentially a 3-4-2, and then the best of the bench.
Right.
Which is 2 defenders and a forward. I'm sorry. I got Blake in goal on the bench. Mm-hmm. I think Philly could get a clean sheet against New England. Yeah. It's a road game. Normally I don't like to pick a keeper on the road, but I do have him on the bench just in case. He's the 7:30 game. I do like Schulte, actually. I just think 3 clean sheets in a row for Columbus. And I got Farsi, too. So it's just so many guys. I'd rather go with Blake.
Yeah.
So that back line is Wagner, because like I told you, I like Philly. And Wagner, he's averaging 6 points a game, and they still don't have a clean sheet.
Yeah.
If you say, I'm going to give you 6 points for this defender, and he doesn't play, I'm going to take it 100% of the time.
Yep.
So Wagner's always in my lineup. Smith from Portland like you. Farsi from Columbus like you. My defenders on the bench are Valencia at $5 million. He got me a clean sheet last week, so he's definitely going to get a price rise. Mm-hmm. I don't think they'll have a clean sheet again against Atlanta, but he's really there for a price rise.
Yeah.
And I got Ricketts on the bench at $5 million, who's going to get another price rise. And they could at home get a clean sheet against Minnesota United. So he could be the guy that fills in for that scrub midfielder. My midfield beside the scrub is Gauld, Ojeda, Acosta, and Gazdag. So is that identical to you?
Pretty much. Yeah, I don't have Ojeda.
Okay. And then my forwards are Rossi. I don't think he's going to have 2 bad games in a row. Mm-hmm. And he's home against Houston, who's a dumpster fire on defense.
I thought about Rossi for sure in this matchup.
I actually thought about who's the hyphenated guy with the big fro that's scoring their goals now that Cucho's
Russell
gone.
Rowe.
Russell Rowe.
Evander is who I have that you don't, by the way.
That is right. And Mojeda's cheaper, so it saved me a little money. But Russell Rowe's only like $800,000 less than Rossi. Like I thought maybe I'll save money, and it's like, no, Rossi, I think he's going to go off this week. So, and then I got Musa up top with him. I like Acosta and Musa. I think they're both going to score. I mean, Chicago Fire, they're home against the Chicago Fire, and you saw what they did together last week.
Yeah.
I like both Acosta and Musa. I think you should definitely have one of them in your lineup. Mm-hmm. But I really think you can have both. And then I have Jacob Murrell on the bench. I had him on my bench last week. Did some changes to get Gold in the lineup.
Yeah.
And I think it was because Gutierrez wasn't playing, I took him out. The guy I replaced him with, I made a little money, so then I could put Gold in.
Right.
And then I wound up taking Murrell out, however the hell you say it. And that was bad because he got a nice price rise.
Yeah.
And he would have replaced a crappy player on my team. But it is what it is. I got him here now. I do think he'll get a price rise. I do think he could score again at home against Sporting Kansas City.
For sure.
I mean, goals could go to him instead of Benteke. So we'll see what happens. But I liked my team last week, so liking it this week doesn't mean a damn thing. But we'll see what happens. I feel pretty good about it right now.
As far as lines go, first game that jumped out at me, Crew at home playing Houston. I don't think Houston has any chance on the road. Minus 130 for the Crew, plus 310 for the Dynamo. Even at minus 130, I like the Crew there.
Oh, yeah. It's like a big vig.
Cincy minus 145 playing Toronto. I like that game too, even though it's minus 145.
I like that game if Orejano or Miazga play.
Yes.
I love that game if they both play.
For sure. If neither of them play, I would stay away from it.
Yep,
yeah,
I would just
still not thinking draw or anything. DC Kansas City, I'm staying away from that. I don't feel confident enough in DC.
What's the over?
The over is minus 165 for 2.5 goals, plus 115 under 2.5 goals.
I think they'll be. I don't know. Sporting doesn't score that much.
Yeah,
but they've got Joveljic and somebody else. Well, they've always had Eric Tommy. Willie Agata. Yeah. They've always had him too, but Joveljic and Agata, I just thought...
That game should... 2-1 is over. Yeah. And it's minus 165.
That's why it's minus 165, because it should happen.
NYCFC plus 115 at home with Orlando coming. Love it. I
like that too.
It's not my favorite pick, this list, but I think it's a really good one, and it's the first positive one I like. The hell did I just do? Oh my god, we're looking at Serie A now.
Yeah, I saw that.
This is a disaster. Here we go. Alright. Revolution going to New England, plus 165. Love it. New England's plus 145 at home. I think the Union are only the underdog because they're on the road, and just barely. I think the Union are...
Love it.
Love that game. Atlanta, Red Bull... I'm staying away from it. It's plus 210, Red Bull on the road.
I don't love that game at all.
I just don't know. There's
both those teams can be so inconsistent.
The over is minus 145. That's not terrible money for 2.5 goals, but I don't like it.
I don't like anything about that game.
Dallas minus 130 with the Fire coming.
Like it.
I like it.
What's the over?
2.5 goals minus 165.
Oh, 165.
Now I will say, depending on your book, you can change the line. So, I'm on MGM, right? So I can bet total goals. I pick my line, and that determines my odds. So say I'm comfortable calling that game over 3.5. It's actually plus 150 now.
Right.
But it's a grid, so you decide the risk you want there.
Yeah.
Under 3.5 is minus 220. Over 3.5 is plus 150.
I wouldn't take any under in that.
Yeah, the way the odds work out there, plus 150 for 3.5 might not be crazy. I don't think it's worth setting up some weird thing that you know. I'm just not confident enough in that.
No, and if the regular line's 2.5 and you got to risk 165 to win 100, and then you push it to the next thing, to the 3.5, and it's a 2-1 final, you'd be really, really upset that you would have won.
Yep.
And now you didn't. So,
next game, Colorado-Austin. Colorado plus 320 on the road.
Really?
I really don't like it.
I was going to say, I don't like that game either way, but as a plus 320?
It's just such a big one.
I'll throw something on that.
Yeah,
6-1 odds?
If you're betting other games, then I would include this.
I said 6-1. That's 3-1.
Yes. But if you're already betting games, I would bet this one because as long as you hit other ones, you'll probably cover this, and the payout on this one's just
no, I think 3-1 odds is good odds. I mean, that's a bet that you should take. I think they have better than a 3-1 chance of winning that game.
Yes. Salt Lake, San Diego, I'm staying away from that personally.
I don't like it. And you don't know what's up with Lozano right now.
Yeah. San Jose, Minnesota, I am also staying away from that, I think.
Me too.
Inter Miami, Charlotte. Inter Miami minus 210 at home. Charlotte plus 450 on the road. Every line is lopsided towards Miami, and it does make me want to bet against them. I am not confident enough in Charlotte on the road yet.
No.
But plus 450 is so crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it warrants that. And I'm a Charlotte fan. I come across as a Charlotte hater.
Yeah.
I'm pretty down on them compared to other fans. But plus 450, I think. I think part of that's the Miami name. I think part of that is what they just did in their last game. Yeah. And, they did that without Messi. What about when Messi comes back? It's going to be ridiculous.
Right. Well, and I think it's important to remember
Messi was in that game that they should have lost.
Yes.
So, I mean...
I do think it's important to remember that they did that to Houston, and Charlotte is, literally one of the best defenses in the league, as much as you and I don't think that when we watch them.
Statistically.
Yes. They were the top of the East, actually. They let in the fewest goals.
With the keeper of the year that we agreed on and thought wasn't going to win.
Yeah. And we've seen them shut down Miami before as well. It wouldn't be the first time Charlotte beat them. So, that's definitely a game if you're looking for just a crazy odds pick. Plus 450 is nuts. LA Galaxy, St. Louis, again, stay away from it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't.
Too many variables for me.
Yeah, me too.
Other than that, that's all I got for you. John, was there anything else you wanted to say to the people?
Always check your lineups.
Check your lineups. Guys, we will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good night.